I have some massive anxiety. Okay. Welcome back to Every Disney Movie Ever. My name is Jess and I'm watching Every Disney Movie Ever. Today I'm going to talk about Pirates of the Caribbean at World's End. Pirates of the Caribbean at World's End is a 2007 theatrical release. It's about Elizabeth, Will, Jack, and Barbossa all fighting for their own ends and means to find out, like, we'll see who wins type situation. It really is, like, you know, kind of chaotic. It's directed by Gore Verbinski, cinematography by Dariusz Wolski, editing by Stephen E. Rivkin and Craig Wood, music by Hans Zimmer, and it's written by Ted Elliott and Terry Rossio. Film stars Johnny Depp as Jack Sparrow, Orlando Bloom as Will Turner, Keira Knightley as Elizabeth Swann, Geoffrey Rush as Barbossa, Jack Davenport as Norrington, and Bill Nighy as Davy Jones. This was filmed at the same time as Dead Man's Chest, and they intended to, Verbinski specifically, intended this one to be more character-driven like the first one, because they used the second one as, like, much more plot push. Rossio and Elliott wanted to bring in some, like, actual historical figures, as well as the Calypso side of things because of the heathen gods mentioned in the first one by Barbossa. Some sequences were filmed on the same locations as Dead Man's Chest at the same time. So they filmed for Dead Man's Chest and then they filmed for at World's End. 18th century Singapore wasn't really well documented, I suppose. So they used an expressionist style of Chinese and Malaysian cities around the same period. They did end up taking a break once they finished wrapping on the second film, and then they resumed filming for the third film August 3rd, 2006. The climactic battle was shot in an old airport hangar in Palmdale, California. The cast had to wear wetsuits underneath their costumes because when they were in the half-sunken ships, because they had to keep the water temperature at freezing temps in order to avoid bacteria growth that could infect the crew. A second unit did shoot Niagara Falls, and visual effects and special effects crew worked for like 5 months to finish off the effects, and they did run into a lot of issues, especially with water-based effects. The original cut of the film was 3 hours, and they cut out 20 minutes, not including the credits. It wasn't enough. The film had a $300 million budget, made $961.6 million at the box office, has a 44% Rotten Tomatoes consensus reads. Thrilling action mixes in too many characters with too many incomprehensible plot threads. Was nominated for 2 Oscars, makeup and visual effects. It didn't win either. There was some controversy in China, specifically with Chow Yun-Fat's character, and they ended up censoring it and trimming his character involvement down by a lot. The cinematography and the visuals are by far and away the best part of this movie. Every single shot is so stunning. The visuals are stellar. I couldn't tell, like, and most of the time I'd be like, fake, you know? And, like, yeah, okay, are, like, the visual effects on the actors, can I tell, like, of course that's not real, but it's real enough. It looks so good. Nothing is like, oh, it's cringy CGI. It looks stunning. And the shots themselves, so gorgeous. I truly think this was the best looking stuff they were putting out at the time. When I'm looking at the stuff that surrounds this movie besides animation, like, you know, we got Ratatouille coming up here. That's obviously stunning, but that's an animation. But right at the same time as this is Underdog. You're telling me you're putting out a thing that looks like this, and then you're also putting out Underdog. That's just so weird. It's such polar opposite. Look-wise, I do think, like, it's just crazy to me because this is genuinely so stunning to look at. It's the best part of the movie, like, hands down. I stand by that these movies truly know how to balance multiple stories happening in a single scene the best. I think they are masters at it. You're in an action sequence and you're following Elizabeth and Will, you're following Barbossa, you're following Jack, you're following, you know, Calypso or Teodalma or Beckett or whoever you're following all at the same time, or you're following Davy Jones, Jack, Will, Elizabeth, Barbossa, all simultaneously. We're cutting between all of these so masterfully. I do totally think they are the absolute masters of being able to have so many different threads of a story in one scene. What I don't think they're the master of anymore is being able to know what can go and what can stay. This movie is horrifically long. It does not need to be near the length it is. You don't even get to Jack until 30 plus minutes into the movie. I think maybe even 40 minutes into the movie, which is crazy because, you know, the Pirates of the Caribbean franchise, is on Jack Sparrow's shoulders. Even though I loved Will and Elizabeth and was here for them. I also love Jack Sparrow, but you understand, when I was younger. It's crazy to me that from that 30-minute mark until probably about an hour and a half in, because the movie is still 3 hours. They say the original cut was 3 hours. It's still 3 hours, but I guess that's with credits. Anyway, it's 2 hours and 50 minutes. Okay, give or take. The halfway point, from getting Jack to the halfway point, feels like just the slowest. It's just, it took forever to get to the halfway point of the movie, and I truly, thought we were farther than we were. And then, that whole last half, it's excruciating. When we finally get to, the whirlpool climax, Davy Jones, Flying Dutchman against the Black Pearl, fight, it's like, okay, I finally feel like maybe we're, coming to the end of this movie. But there's even more after that. It's just so long, and it doesn't have to be. They milk every scene. And it's not like there's a specific, just like the second one. I don't think there's a specific scene that could just, get cut out. Although, I do think the whole, Jack talking to versions of himself was so unnecessary to the point of the story. You don't need it at all. And they just did that because, gotta keep Jack hilarious and unpredictable and whatever. I can't think of a scene that I'm like, we could just totally do without this. We don't need it whatsoever. But there are so many scenes that I'm like, this scene is too long. 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 This scene is dragging. We need to calm down. Everybody pull it in tighter. So I don't think there's any one specific scene or one, whatever, that I'd be like, get rid of it. It's garbage. We don't need it. I think it's just, there are so many scenes that I'm like, okay, we could have done all of this in way less time. And yes, the action sequences are stunning and masterful, but they don't need to be that long. They don't need to be that long. They don't. They do the opposite of what they're trying to do, which is to keep you hyped, keep you in the story, but they go on so long that you're like, yeah, okay. What's gonna happen? Can we get there already? At least for me. So editing wise, I would say they, again, are masterful at touching many different characters and stories during an intense event, so you can keep track of everything that's going on. But when it comes to length and knowing when to call a scene quits, no. Music was stunning per usual. It's pretty much, wash, rinse, repeat, I feel like. I mean, Hans Zimmer obviously just kills it all the time. But I will say, I feel like the first two soundtracks are better than this one. It's not like I'm like, oh, this one's garbage and the other two are mess. It's not like that big of a gap. It's just this one is also very good, but I think I might like the first two better. The opening of this movie is insane. Okay, remember how I said there were a lot of 2 and 3 that melded together for me, and there were pieces of 3 that I thought were in 2, and then when 2 finished, I was like, oh, I guess what these things that I remember are in 3. Yeah, apparently that's all I remember. I remembered nothing else about this movie. So this opening is nuts. I would say that's some of the most masterful stuff that Gore Verbinski does. The openings of these 3 movies are so fun. The opening of the first one, so good, you're on the ship, you find Will after the shipwreck, right? The second one, the raining at the wedding that can't be because people have been arrested, it's so visually stunning. This one, it's all the hangings, which is so extreme. I don't know if this movie's rated PG-13 or not, but it definitely should be. Because that was you're hanging people, man. To music. It was a lot. That was quite an opening. That was so insane. As usual, it gets right into it, especially because the last movie obviously just ended on a super cliffhanger. So this movie gets right into it. Again, it's 30 plus minutes before we even get to Jack, and he's revealed by his nose, which I thought was so funny. And I thought that was a really good Jack reveal, actually. So much happens in this movie without anything happening. There are so many scenes where, no matter what, the goal is still to find Jack, but there's, so many scenes that go on so long without, moving us closer to getting to Jack. It's just atrocious. And then once we have Jack, it's so many scenes happen before moving us closer to getting to wherever we're supposed to frickin' go, because whatever. And also, it's really sloppy. We don't get a lot of explanation about, the board of pirates at all, or with the pirate king. We don't get much in the way of like the East India Trading Company. Like they pop up in the second movie and there's no real like Beckett's never fully explained, you know? I feel like you're just constantly like, and why are they doing this? What do they want with this? Like, what's going on? Like, I get that they want power, but you could be like a little more elaborate about it. I don't know. Even though like so much happens without happening, it's a 3-hour freaking movie. But I feel like there's a lot that isn't like explained or flushed out, and then there's other stuff that's like, we didn't need this. In like in exchange, I'd rather like make sense of what's going on. And I get the whole like everyone's, you know, betraying each other and turning each other over and, you know, going behind each other's backs and, you know, all that stuff. I get it. That's what makes it like the pirate, you know, is pirate, but they're all in on the same scheme and blah, 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 blah. But it's just like kind of sloppy. It just gets sloppier and sloppier. The first one is so tied up nice, neat in a bow. And the second and third one, I feel like are just so ambitious, which is fine. But then it's just like, you don't explain anything. And then there's like so much action, which is, who doesn't like the action sequence in a pirate movie? But there's just so much of it, it drowns out the actual, like, reason we're here, which is the characters and the plot of it all. We wouldn't have liked Pirates of the Caribbean 1 as much as we did if Will, Elizabeth, Jack, and Barbossa weren't as, like, captivating as they were. So, I have a lot of issues with the plot here. I did have some lines I liked. I liked, if you make choices alone, how can I trust you? You can't. Ooh, that was good. And then I also really liked, our destinies have been entwined but never joined. Norrington said that. I'm also devastated by Norrington's death. I didn't expect that because I freaking hate Norrington in the first one. But I kind of liked his jadedness in the second one. And then in this one, I was like, come on, Norrington, flip. And then he flipped. And then he died. And it was so sad. I do love that Elizabeth becomes, like, you know, captain and a king. I think that's fire. I want to be a king. Come on. Sick. Otherwise, I think the most unnecessary scenes, besides the original Jack hallucinating in, like, Davy Jones' locker scene. That makes sense, because it's establishing he's in the locker, he's being tortured in some fashion or whatever. But later, when he's got, like, each of him on his shoulder, he's got each of him in the brig with him, like, it's not good. Favorite part? Either when Jack votes for Elizabeth, such a like random moment you don't expect coming, even though I knew he was going to do that, and then, or when Will and Elizabeth get married by Barbossa in the big climactic scene. I actually kind of like that. Normally when there's like romantic things happening in a life or death situation, I'm not about it, but it just kind of like fit the whole entire vibe of the movie. And I thought that was fun. My least favorite part, literally anything with Beckett in it. He drives me insane. I don't get it. He's never explained. And it's never explained, like, what... He obviously wants power and to get rid of pirates, but, like, why? Like, it's just never... So I hate it. I hate him. Recommend? Yeah, I guess. I mean, I genuinely don't know if I will ever watch this again. I hadn't seen it since theaters, even though I owned it on DVD. I've watched the first one many times in my life, but I've never gone for, like, past and done Dead Man's Chest at World's End. Dead Man's Chest at World's End. And I think I have, like, they're so connected because they're really one movie, which makes it so long, and then it's, like, kind of boring for part of it because it goes on so long for no reason. So I genuinely don't think I will be watching this again unless, like, someone, or I'm, like, showing my children or someone really wants to watch it, then maybe, but I don't know if I'll go, hey, you know what I want to watch? At World's End. I think it's going to be like, hey, I want to watch Pirates of the Caribbean, and I'm going to watch Crystal by Pearl, and that's it. Like, I don't think I'm going to go past that, honestly. Specific moments. I genuinely remembered nothing but the whirlpool scene and Keith Richards being in the movie. I also thought the scene with his dad was, like, in a restaurant in Tortuga. I had no idea he was, like, the keeper of the code, and that I had no memory of any of that. I just remember Keith Richards was his dad, and they had, like, a moment. I thought it was in a restaurant. What do I know? Norrington's death was so sad. Still, I'm upset about it. Overall, I think it's just too much. Like, they tried to tackle too much, which is kind of the criticism it got. I'm not mad that they added characters. I'm not mad that they tried to, like, get bigger with, like, the East India Trading Company War and, like, Calypso. I think all of that is really great ideas and great elements. I just wish it had been, like, flushed out better or something. Like, it's just, there's too much going on. There's so many action sequences, which I get because it's a pirate movie, but they could have been shorter. You know what I mean? And I don't remember whose parent death we counted in the first movie. That's when we went over 200. That's when we hit 200. I don't remember if it was Elizabeth's mom or if it was one of Will's parents. But if we didn't count Elizabeth's mom, there are 2 parent deaths in this movie because Elizabeth's dad dies and then he says, I'll see your mom. Like, I'll tell your mom about you or whatever. And so if we didn't, I feel like the first one I think might have been Will's parents because he's an orphan. Or one of his parents. It was one death, so I think maybe his dad, even though we find out his dad's not dead in the second one. I do not think it was Elizabeth's mom, but maybe it was. So no matter what, I'm going to count it as 2 parent deaths. And if I'm wrong and it's supposed to only be 1, I'm sure there's a parent death I've missed in the 600 plus movies I've watched, and it'll just even each other out. You know what I mean? Or it can count for one of the many parents that just are absent and never mentioned, and you're supposed to assume they're dead. That's everything I have for Pirates of the Caribbean at World's End. Wow. It's not my favorite and it drags on, it's boring. It's still beautiful and a well-made movie. So my final rating is 8 black pearls out of 10. Our total movie count is. Our parent death total is. Cry count is still the same. If you want to keep up with the movie I'm watching when, follow me on Instagram or Twitter. You'll find out what movie I'm watching when. I put out videos every Monday and Friday and sometimes Wednesday. Join Patreon. I got a tier starting at just $1 where you get every video a week early, a coupon code for merch, exclusive merch access, etc. Got tiers above that where you get daily trivia access, community chat access, and then whatever, like sometimes whatever bonus content I want to do. Sometimes you get a monthly postcard. Just head on over there and check it out. Until next time, comment, like, subscribe. No, buy merch. Merch is great, merch is grand. This is parent death toll because we got a parent death toll. Now, until next time, comment, like, subscribe. But I'm not in charge of your life. You are, so do you. And don't be Beckett about it. Okay.
And I've considered renaming my children after you. Renaming?